Hi Year 3! This week in English we've started to learn and look at recipes, hoping to move towards creating a revolting recipe. We have been looking at some of the different word classes and trying to spot these in recipes. So we're just going to go through those now. Nouns are a type of word class, and they are those words that are people, places, or things. So if you look at the word and it's a thing that you can see or you could touch, then it should be a noun. Adjectives are often paired with nouns. They often travel around with the nouns because they want to try and make the nouns more interesting and tell people more about the nouns. So adjectives are actually words that we see that describe a person, a place, or a thing. So Miss Pretty, my name, pretty, is actually an adjective because it describes things. Verbs are words that we look for that are action or doing words. So if we can do that thing, then that is a verb. Adverbs like to follow verbs around, a bit like adjectives do with nouns. And adverbs, they tell us how the action is done, so they describe the action. They go around saying, oh, you know, they might see that the verb is running and they try to add things like running slowly, running quickly. And those are words that tell us how something is done. This is a recipe for a fruit smoothie. We've had a look at that in class. And I've had a go at starting something that I'd like you to have a go at. I've colour-coded nouns, adverbs, nouns, adjectives, verbs and adverbs, and tried to find examples of these words in the recipe. I've not done them all, but I've had a go. So I've looked at nouns first of all and used blue for my nouns. I've looked through thinking, where can I see words that are things? I've found lots of them in this recipe, like water, banana, skin, honey, lid, strawberries, yogurt. All of those are nouns. I also tried to do the same with adjectives. Sadly, there wasn't a pink highlighter, so I've underlined some of them in purple. So I've tried to do that, so hopefully you can see some of them. I found cold to describe the water, pointed describes the end, clear and runny are adjectives to describe the honey, ripe is an adjective describing the banana. You will notice that some of the adjectives used in a recipe are very specific, so they help the person making the food or the drink choose the exact thing that they need. It helps us also when we're going shopping for these things because we can make sure we choose the right thing. So the adjectives are used for a really clear purpose. Verbs, there's lots of those because recipes are they're mainly about doing things and following instructions. So verbs, there's loads of those. We've got words, lots of doing words like rinse, drain, hull, holding, slicing, cut, slice, peel, put, add. Can you spot any more? And finally, adverbs, there's less of these in this recipe, but the only one I spotted, I wonder if you can, in green is carefully. So I tried to colour code the ones that I have started to find. You might find if you have a recipe book that's maybe aimed at slightly older people, you might find that you find more of those adverbs. In maths, we are now looking at addition and subtraction. So we're going to be thinking about adding ones, tens and hundreds to and from three-digit numbers. So I'm going to show you how you can perhaps do that when you're having a go at some of these things at home. We are going to try and use the place value grid to help us to visualise this, and you might be able to use this similar strategy at home. So the place value grid shows us 214. We're being asked to subtract 3 ones and add 3 ones. So we're going to be mainly looking at the ones column. And if we need to look at the tens, we will. So look at the ones column, there's currently 4 ones. When I'm subtracting 3, I just would take 3 of those away or cross 3 of them out and find that I'm left with 1 in that column, which shows me the answer would be 211. The second question says 214 and we want to add 3 ones this time, so I would just add 3 ones to that column and then look to see how many ones I now have. If I did add 3 ones, that would then give me 7 ones in that column, and my new number would be 217. It's very similar when we're adding and subtracting tens. We would use maybe a place value grid again, like here, and we would be thinking, right, this time I need to concentrate on adding to the tens column. There are going to be some times where that means that the hundreds column changes, because sometimes we will end up with 10 tens. For these examples, we're not going to be doing that crossing over. So the number we're starting with is 352. It says add 4 tens. So we've already got 5 tens in there. So we would add 4 more so that we ended up with 9 tens. And then my new number would be 392. You'll notice the hundreds in the ones column, they stayed exactly the same in this example. Then it says 352 subtract 2 tens. So in that situation, I might take those two of those tens away or cross 2 of them out and see what my new number is. If I did cross 2 of those out, I would end up with 332. It works very similarly when we're adding and subtracting hundreds. So here we've got hundreds, tens and ones. We've got 234 in the top row. But what happens if we add 3 hundreds? If we're saying we want to add 3 hundreds, we would collect 3 more hundreds and add them to the 2 we already have, which would give us 534. That would be our new number. Some of you might be thinking, oh, but I wouldn't be able to have those pieces of equipment at home. But remember, sometimes in school we might draw them and we might just represent the hundreds with a square, the tens by a sort of a stick, and the ones with little dots or circles. You might find that you could create a little place value grid that looks a bit like the one I've just revealed, and instead of using the hundreds, tens and ones, use counters or bits of pasta or cubes, pieces of Lego, anything you've got at home, and once it goes in that hundreds column, it represents 100. So you can use those place value grids at home with any little objects you've got to represent the hundreds, tens and ones. They're a really good model for helping us understand which column changes and which columns stay the same.